Good afternoon from Sarajevo. The platform coalition consists of 12 Israel human rights organization has published the most comprehensive report on the second year of the war in Gaza. 2025 has brought the most severe violence of Palestinian human rights since 1967. What would you highlight from the report?
Wow, it's hard to highlight, it's all just terrible. But I think, of course, Gaza, like that's the most cruel phase of the occupation at the moment. So all the displacement and the feeling that like each day we think it can't be getting worse, and it does even now. Like it's not part of the report because we closed it in October, but even now in the ceasefire there is so much shortage of equipment, food, medical support, anything that would help to rebuild the houses and hospitals and schools. So this ongoing feeling of despair, not talking about people who are still in prison and haven't done anything or even haven't had a trial on court. So I think that's obviously the most cruel part. For the other side of the picture, also the West Bank and all the little villages that were abandoned because of settler violence and because the army supports settler violence is also terrible. And us in Combatants for Peace, we are more active in the West Bank. We have some colleagues who were originally from Gaza, so of course we also follow what's happening there. But like on a daily basis, I can tell more on what we see on the West Bank, which is obviously reflected in the report.
Yes, as you mentioned the West Bank, do you think this Israel model will ever end, given that they seem to take pleasure in torturing Palestinians there?
I think, yes, it has to end. Like there is a lot of models of occupation, but we see that all of them end eventually. I think you in Bosnia also know it, that nothing can last forever if there is a huge amount of population that is suffering from it. I would add, of course, there are Israelis who even enjoy torturing Palestinians, as you say. But I think it's a lot coming from fear from both sides. So actually the soldiers, even, when we meet them, when we do field activities, who are posted in the West Bank, a lot of times they are also very scared. So it's more of a systematic oppression and not like the personal decisions. Of course, with the violent settlers and soldiers supporting them, we see also the personal responsibility and the personal hate and very huge aggressivity. But I think for the majority, it's basically fear that both societies experience for a very, very long time. And unfortunately, based on this fear, the very extreme right-wing parties could get into government, and even the Likud, which was not used to be such an aggressive and fascist party, they became so, because that's where society is going if there is ongoing trauma and we do nothing to stop it.
Yeah, Esther, what can organizations like yours can do for these people?
So It's a few things, like most of the organizations in the platform are actually human rights organizations that support with legal support and with research and conveying the research and doing advocacy. We are a bit different. Combatants for Peace, we are one of the only organizations that are binational with Palestinians from the West Bank and at one point, hopefully also from Gaza, but obviously now that's it's impossible to have members joining from Gaza, also because Hamas won't let any Palestinian from Gaza to join a binational organization because it's not in their policy, so we don't even aim to, but we have our members are from the West Bank and from Israel. So we are the only binational organization doing also field activity and a very political stand. There are some other binational organizations doing other work. And this is also unique in the platform. We do field work jointly. So not only Israel is going to support the most endangered villages and people in Palestine, but also we bring Palestinians to support their peer Palestinians. So from bigger cities, sometimes even from other villages, they come, they join, and we do olive harvest together, we do demonstrations together, tree planting when it's the season. So that's one way to help. And the other way is also education. I was talking about the fear. So we work with young people to get to know each other, to get to know the narrative of the other, to meet a Palestinian who is not a terrorist, to meet an Israeli who is not a soldier. So to see each other as human beings. Yeah, so that's another thing we do.
Can you work freely and without threats or pressure for the Palestinians?
No. When we do field activities, there is a constant threat, and usually it's not only a threat, it happens that we meet the army, we meet settlers, they come and try to stop our activity. And because we are a non-violent movement, we don't want to get into violent clashes with anyone. So usually when the army comes and says, now you have to go because this is a closed military zone, even if it's completely illegal to claim a closed military zone in the middle of an olive grove or in a square where we just have a quiet demonstration, we go because we don't want our members to get into trouble, especially not the Palestinians who can be arrested, detained without any claims for a long time. So we don't want to risk that. And also Israel, the government is doing a lot of measures at the moment to shrink the space of democracy, to shrink the space of acting for all human rights and peace organizations. So
where are you?
Constantly experience that as well.
Yeah, where are you currently located, and what is the situation given that Israel is violating the ceasefire and more than 350 Palestinians have been killed since October 10th?
We have an office in Beit Jala, which is between Jerusalem and Bethlehem. So that's the Palestinian office, and we have an office in Tel Aviv. And most of our work we do in the Jordan Valley and in Bethlehem area, sometimes also South Hebron Hills. So that's where we focus. And on Gaza, of course, we just keep on following the events. We claimed in July after B'Tselem and Physicians for Human Rights, the latter, they are also part of the platform, issued their report saying that what's happening in Gaza is genocide. So it gave us enough information that we couldn't gather ourselves to also claim that we also call it a genocide what's happening in Gaza. And as I said in the beginning, unfortunately, even with the ceasefire, there is not enough change in the situation. Of course, it's much calmer, but it's not enough.
Yes, I understand. Esther, how would you describe Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his goals?
It's hard to say. His own political survival is definitely one of his most important goals, unfortunately. Until this recent government, so until 3 years ago, I would think that he's a very pragmatic politician who, of course, wants his survival, but also has an element of wanting good, at least for Jewish Israelis. What we see in the last 3 years is just his own political survivor, and he just full capture of the most extreme fascist, racist, violent politicians that Israel probably has ever seen. So Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, and also some people in his own party. And I personally don't think he has any own will anymore. Like either Trump comes and tells him to do this, and then Ben-Gvir and Smotrich comes and tells him to do something else, and he's just maneuvering, just making sure he's not falling from being the prime minister.
Yeah. Esther, thank you so much for this interview, and I wish you very, very good luck with all the good things that you are doing there.
Thank you very much.